In 2024, Japan's National Police Agency released statistics showing tens of thousands of people dying alone in their homes. In just the first half of the year, more than 37,000 people were found dead days, weeks, or months after they passed. Nearly 4,000 of them weren't discovered for over a month. No scream, no witness, no funeral. Just a person disappearing inside a locked apartment in the middle of one of the most crowded countries on Earth. In Japan, a country with some of the most expensive real estate on the planet, there are houses you can buy for a fraction of their market value, and many of them are the places where those people died. Gleaming apartments in the heart of Tokyo, spacious family homes in quiet suburbs, all listed for impossibly low prices. It sounds like a dream, doesn't it? But every dream has its shadow, and these homes are hiding dark secrets. They're known as Jiko Bukken, stigmatized properties. Homes where the unimaginable has happened. A place where a life ended in violence, in despair, or in complete and utter solitude. What makes a home so tainted that its price plummets by 50, 60, or even 80%? It's more than just a tragic event. It's a story of deep-seated cultural fear, of restless spirits, and the chilling, modern-day epidemic of lonely deaths. Today, we're pulling back the curtains to investigate the dark world of Jiko Bukken. We'll explore the chilling ghost stories that keep locals away, the legal loopholes that agents use to sell them, and the surprising boom in people who are willing to call these haunted houses home. Why are these houses so cheap? The answer is far more complex and far more disturbing than you might think. So the real question isn't why these houses are cheap. It's why a death can follow you home long after the body is gone. The term Jiko Bukken translates to accident property, but its meaning runs much deeper than a simple mishap. In the world of Japanese real estate, it's a designation for a property with a psychological defect, also known as Shinrei-teki kashi bukken. This means that while the building itself is physically sound, something has happened within its walls that would cause a potential resident psychological distress or discomfort. The most common cause is, of course, death. But not all deaths create a Jiko Bukken. Under guidelines established by Japan's Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport, and Tourism in 2021, a natural death from old age or a common household accident like a fall typically does not need to be disclosed. These are considered a part of life. The stigma arises from deaths that are unnatural, violent, or lonely. The primary categories are stark. First, there's murder. A home where a life was violently taken is the most heavily stigmatized. The memory of the crime scene, often sensationalized by the media, becomes permanently imprinted on the property. Then there is suicide. In a culture where the spiritual implications of taking one's own life are profound, a property where someone died by suicide is believed to hold a powerful negative energy. But a new, tragically modern category is a major driver for Jiko Bukken, Kodokushi, or lonely death. This refers to people, often elderly but increasingly younger individuals, who die alone and remain undiscovered for an extended period. When a body is left for weeks or months, the physical impact on the property can be devastating, requiring intensive, specialized cleaning to remove stains and odors. But the psychological impact is even greater. The thought of someone passing away in complete isolation, their absence unnoticed by the world, creates a powerful sense of melancholy and dread that permeates the space. Under Japanese law, real estate agents have a legal obligation to inform potential buyers or tenants about these psychological defects in a document called the Jiko Setsu Meisho, or Explanation of Important Matters. An agent must disclose if the property is a Jiko Bukken. Legally, the problem isn't death. It's whether the memory of it still counts. However, the system has its gray areas. For rental properties, guidelines suggest the disclosure is only strictly necessary for about 3 years after the incident. For property sales, the obligation is generally considered indefinite. This has led to a notorious loophole where a landlord might have someone, even an agency employee, rent the apartment for a short time. After that first tenant moves out, some argue the obligation to disclose the property's history to the next tenant is erased, effectively cleansing its legal record, even if the spiritual one remains. To really understand why Jiko Bukken are so feared, we have to look beyond the physical events and into the heart of Japanese folklore and spiritual beliefs. For many, the stigma isn't just about a bad memory. It's about the very real possibility of sharing your home with a ghost. Japanese culture is deeply interwoven with Shinto and Buddhist beliefs, which hold that a person's spirit, or tamashii, can linger in the physical world after death. A peaceful death allows the spirit to pass on, but a violent, traumatic, or lonely death is believed to trap the spirit, binding it to the location where it died. These restless spirits are known as yuling, the Japanese equivalent of ghosts. They are said to be filled with regret, sorrow, or rage, and are believed to haunt the living who occupy their former space. A murder victim might endlessly replay their final moments. A suicide victim might be trapped in a loop of their despair. This belief system shows up in numerous cultural superstitions. For instance, many older buildings in Japan skip the number 4 because its pronunciation, shai, is the same as the word for death. North-facing rooms are sometimes considered unlucky, as this is the direction the deceased are traditionally laid to rest. Even writing a person's name in red ink is taboo, as it evokes images of blood and mortality. For a home marked by an unnatural death, the fear of bad luck is immense. Many people believe that living in such a place will invite misfortune, illness, or financial ruin. To combat this, purification rituals called oharai are often performed by Shinto priests to cleanse the property of negative energy before a new resident moves in. These ceremonies involve prayers, offerings, and the symbolic waving of a purification wand to drive away any lingering spirits. The fear surrounding Kodokushi properties is particularly potent. The physical decay of an undiscovered body is seen as a source of extreme impurity. The lingering scent and the difficult cleanup are viewed as physical manifestations of the tragedy and despair of the death itself. It creates a powerful psychological barrier, a sense that the home is not just empty, but deeply, sorrowfully tainted. While younger generations and foreigners are often more skeptical, for a huge part of the Japanese population, the risk of spiritual disturbance is more than enough to make them shun a Jiko Bukken, no matter how low the price. Not everyone in Japan believes this, but enough people do that entire neighborhoods quietly agree to avoid these homes. The phenomenon of Kodokushi deserves a closer look, as it's a major force behind the growing number of Jiko Bukken in modern Japan. It represents a quiet crisis born from shifting demographics, social isolation, and a fraying social fabric. As mentioned, tens of thousands of people die alone at home each year. More than 70% of them are aged 65 or older. This isn't just a statistic. It's a collection of individual tragedies. These are people who may have outlived their friends and family, who became disconnected from their communities, or whose health prevented them from seeking help. Their deaths often go unnoticed until a neighbor complains of a strange smell, or mail begins to pile up, overflowing from the letterbox. By the time they are found, the scene can be grim. In nearly 4,000 cases from the first half of 2024, the body wasn't discovered for over a month. In the most extreme cases reported, some bodies remained undiscovered for an entire year. The process of decomposition leaves a permanent mark on a home. Fluids seep into floorboards, and the entire dwelling requires an intensive and expensive process of biohazard cleanup. These trauma cleaning services are a grim but growing industry in Japan. But you can't always scrub away the memory. Neighbors are often acutely aware of what happened. They may have been the ones to finally raise the alarm. They lived next door while a person's life ended in silence. The knowledge of that lonely end hangs over the entire building, contributing to the stigma. By the time anyone notices, the person has already been gone longer than they were missed. And while the elderly are most at risk, Kodokushi is not just a problem of old age. Recent data has shown a worrying increase in lonely deaths among younger people, often linked to social withdrawal or hikikomori and mental health struggles. In Tokyo, between 2018 and 2020, 742 people in their teens to 30s died alone in their homes. The rise of Kodokushi reflects profound changes in Japanese society: a rapidly aging population, a decline in multi-generational households, and a weakening of community ties. It's a stark reminder that in one of the world's most densely populated countries, it is terrifyingly easy to become invisible. The stories of Jiko Bukken are best understood not through statistics, but through the real places and the people who have dared to live in them. These cases reveal the fear, the fascination, and the surprising pragmatism surrounding these properties. Our first story comes from the files of Oshima Land, a notorious crowdsourced website that maps out Jiko Bukken across Japan with little flame icons. The site's founder has spoken of one particular building he considers the holy ground of Jiko Bukken. It was a small apartment building where, in just 4 years, someone died on every single floor. A tenant on the second floor brutally stabbed the landlady to death on the first floor, then fled and took his own life. There was also a murder on the third floor and a suicide on the rooftop. The building became instantly infamous, a silent monument to the violence that occurred there, its history too dark for any discount to erase. Then there's the bizarre and fascinating case of Tanishi Matsubara, a Japanese comedian who has made a career out of living exclusively in Jiko Bukken. Starting in 2012 for a TV show, he began seeking out the most stigmatized apartments he could find, using his experiences as material for his act. He documents the strange occurrences and the eerie feelings in his temporary homes. His best-selling book about his experiences was even adapted into a hit horror film in 2020. While some accuse him of sensationalizing tragedy, Matsubara provides a unique, if unsettling, window into what it's actually like to live inside these walls. But not every story is one of fear. For every person who flees from a Jiko Bukken, there's another who sees an opportunity. Take the story of Kasia Paulus Ono, a Polish expat living in Japan. She and her family found a spacious house at an unbelievably low price because a young mother had died there previously. For the first year, their rent was less than half the local average. Instead of being ostracized, their neighbors were relieved and welcoming. The house had sat vacant for a long time, a constant, grim reminder of the tragedy. Seeing a family bring life back into the home was a source of comfort for the community. The family reported no strange occurrences, no ghostly encounters. For them, the house wasn't haunted. It was a bargain. It was a home. The house didn't change. The meaning of it did. Where there's a market inefficiency, someone is always ready to capitalize. The deep cultural aversion to Jiko Bukken creates a huge price distortion, giving rise to a niche but lucrative real estate market that operates in the shadows of tragedy. The discounts are the main attraction. Rent for a Jiko Bukken can be 15 to 40% lower, and for sales, the price can drop by 50% or more, depending on the incident. A lonely death might warrant a 20% discount, a suicide 30%, and a murder could slash the price in half. This has created demand from a specific set of buyers and renters. Young people who are often less superstitious and more financially strained are increasingly willing to overlook a property's dark past. Foreigners, who don't share the same cultural beliefs about lingering spirits, are another key demographic. In fact, some real estate agents specifically target foreign investors, highlighting the high potential returns. This has led to specialized agencies that deal exclusively in stigmatized properties. Companies like Nicky Marks and Jobutsu Estate have carved out a business connecting willing renters with these homes. They navigate the sensitive disclosure process and market the properties based on their biggest selling point: the price. Perhaps the most cynical part of this market is the investment strategy. An investor can buy a Jiko Bukken at a steep discount. They can then rent it out, adhering to the disclosure guideline, which for rentals is often only considered necessary for around 3 years. After that period, the legal stigma is often considered faded. The investor can then relist the property at the full market price, or sell it for a significant profit, with no obligation to disclose its history to subsequent tenants. The tragedy that once defined the property is effectively monetized and then erased from the official record. In Japan, tragedy doesn't disappear, it just depreciates. Technology has also played a huge role. The website Oshima Land, founded by Manabu Oshima, has become an indispensable and feared tool for house hunters. It's a crowdsourced map where users log incidents at specific addresses, marking them with a flame icon. You can zoom in on a neighborhood and see where murders, suicides, and lonely deaths have occurred. While agents are legally required to disclose this, Oshima Land provides a second layer of verification, bringing a radical transparency that empowers consumers but also solidifies a property's stigma forever. The world of Jiko Bukken is a fascinating and unsettling crossroads of ancient superstition and modern economics. On one hand, you have the deeply ingrained cultural belief in restless spirits and the palpable dread that clings to a place marked by a tragic death. It's a fear powerful enough to render a perfectly good home nearly worthless. On the other hand, you have the relentless pressures of modern life. In a country where housing in major cities is notoriously expensive, a 50% discount can be the difference between having a home and not. For a growing number of people, the practical need for affordable housing is starting to outweigh the abstract fear of the supernatural. Jiko Bukken are more than just cheap houses. They are a reflection of Japan itself, a society grappling with its relationship to death, tradition, and the increasing isolation of its people. Every culture has places it refuses to talk about. Japan just writes the price tag on the door. The lonely deaths of the elderly and the socially withdrawn are carving out a new, tragic geography in Japan's cities, leaving behind a trail of stigmatized properties. These homes tell a story, not of ghosts and curses, but of a society where it's all too easy to be forgotten. They force us to confront an uncomfortable question. What is the true price of a tragedy? And that leaves one final, personal question. Now that you know their secrets, would you live in a house like this to save money? Here at Horror Across Borders, we journey to the intersection of culture and fear. If you believe the scariest stories are the real ones, subscribe and join our global investigation. And let us know in the comments. What would you do?